Welcome everybody back into NerdSesh. As always, I'm Carson Brever, and alongside me is Logan Camden. And the NFL playoffs are here, and oh my God, they are peak. We could not have asked for, could not have imagined a better wild card Saturday to start off one of the most anticipated, most wide open, most unpredictable NFL postseasons we have seen ever. And the game that we just got to cap off this Saturday night, Logan, was as wild, as unpredictable, and as great as any game could have been. I'm willing to call it an instant classic when you consider the historic rivalry here and the fact that we just witnessed one of the biggest playoff comebacks in NFL history. The Chicago Bears, Logan, erase an 18-point deficit to beat the Green Bay Packers. And you, coming into this game, picked the Bears because you said you just had a feeling about this team. And I said, really? I think the magic is kind of run out on this team. I think this team is not as good as their record. I'm picking Green Bay. First half of this game, I thought every single reason that I picked Green Bay to win this game, every single reason that I was lower on Chicago, that I doubted them, came through. And I thought it was over when Green Bay jumped out to such a dominant 21-3 lead. But the Bears did it again, Logan. How did they pull off this magical victory, the biggest this franchise has had in quite some time?
I don't know how we can be surprised in the fashion that Chicago won this game, because it's how they've won damn near every game this year. I mean,
still pretty surprising.
I never counted the Bears out, but the first group that you need to give props to after this game is the Bears defense. What they did out of the first half, this is back against the wall. 21-3, your head coach, it kind of showed you in the first half. He told you, I got no faith in you guys. The Packers are moving the ball with ease. They are storming down the field every single time. And what do the Bears do in retaliation? They go for it on basically every fourth down that they face, whether it's in their own territory or it's not. Ben Johnson is basically waving the white flag saying, we've got to play track meet football, score on every drive. And out of the second half, this Bears defense forces 4 straight punts, 2 back-to-back 3-and-outs. And they were, I can't say perfect, but they were as perfect as they needed to be. They gave this Bears offense every opportunity they needed to get this thing done. I thought the Bears offense wasn't going to get it done. I thought that my conclusion after this game was going to be, damn, the Bears should have recovered one of the 2 fumbles that they forced in this game, and that's going to be the difference. The offensive lineman fumbling for Green Bay or Josh Jacobs on that kickoff. I thought we were going to look back, and that was going to be the difference in this one. Instead, Caleb Williams pulls off a miraculous 4th down throw to keep this drive alive late. They end up with a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. The Bears defense gets Jordan Love off the field one more time. And the Bears answer. It's unbelievable. Like the Bears have been the cardiac kids of the NFL all season long, but I just can't believe they did it in this fashion. I don't even have a ton of negative things to say about Green Bay. I think that they may have some self-inflicted wounds that cost them in this game. McManus missing the extra point in the point after and the field goal. Jordan Love and some of his the 2 intentional grounding penalties, the delay of game that forces that field goal longer.
That's a 44-yarder. Make the field goal.
Oh, no, he's got to make it. I'm saying that, he made it a little tougher on McManus. He obviously should have made both of those kicks, but I think that contributed a little bit to it. But I just thought the Bears completely contained the Packers. It was like a flip switch, man. I hate using cliches like that, but it was a different team out of the second half, and that's just been the story of Chicago all season long, man. They don't give up. They always believe there is a way that they can win games, and Ben Johnson, I think, has instilled this in this team and in this franchise, man. This team never feels like they can die, that they are always in a game if there's time in the clock, and the cardiac Bears do it again, man. I'm riding like a high right now, man. I am juiced up off the NFL. Those were 2 classics, man. I can't imagine Wild Card Weekend getting off to a better start, man.
It doesn't get any better than that. It was unbelievably clutch football from the Bears in every phase. Even special teams. They had a long punt return that immediately put them in field goal range where they really just sputtered out, but they still got points even on that sequence. They had a long punt return that put them in better position for one of their touchdown drives. in every phase. They were so sharp down the stretch, even though for so much of this game, the offense was anything but. The Bears offense had so many issues. They were really bad on the fourth downs that it felt would maybe swing this game. And I mostly liked the decisions to go from Ben Johnson when you look at the circumstances. I didn't love every play call, though. Particularly, I come back to that 4th and 1 at the 5. I thought they got a little too cute there when I would have just run the ball. And obviously, the execution was bad. I mean, Caleb throws 2 picks. They were 1 of 6 on fourth downs at one point. And it was like kind of the classic sporadic Caleb game where the completion percentage is low. He's missing some completions that he just should connect on. There's some accuracy issues. There's some processing issues, maybe of not taking some stuff within structure. And yet he just made the superhuman plays when they needed them. I mean, that 4th and 8, dude, that's the season. You're down 27-16. By the way, they erased a 15-point fourth quarter deficit. Only the 4th time that has happened in NFL history in the playoffs. And you are looking at a do or die play, 4th and 8. There is only very few quarterbacks on the planet who can make that play. Rolling out to his left under total duress, even fading away a little bit to get the arm strength to put that ball on the money. That is exactly why you see the superstar potential with Caleb. That is exactly why, even with the lows that he does have and the inconsistencies he does have, he has the potential to make these spectacular plays that can overall make him an above average starting quarterback for you. And then I did think the Packers defense just fell apart down the stretch. And I thought you really felt the absence, obviously, of Micah Parsons. We knew that was going to change everything for this team, but for 3 quarters, the Packers defense, although not perfect, they were really good situationally. Like, they kept holding the Bears to field goals and they didn't really let up explosives. That all changed in the fourth quarter when Chicago was able to just pour points on them in a hurry. But I do agree with you about the defense maybe deserving the most credit for the Bears, even though they end up putting up 31 points in this game to get the win. Holding Green Bay to 6 in the second half after how helpless the Bears looked in the first half. I mean, they let up 21 points, 3 straight touchdown drives. They got 1 pressure in the entire first half. And we've talked about how anemic this pass rush is, how really deeply flawed this Bears defense is, where yes, they forced the takeaways. And like you said, they missed out on their opportunities to get those today, to capitalize on those. There were 3 fumbles from the Packers, but the Bears didn't recover any of them. But them coming into this game, finishing the regular season, bottom 5 in yards per play allowed, bottom 5 in yards per pass allowed, bottom 5 in yards per rush allowed. They just weren't doing anything to make Jordan Love and this Packers offense uncomfortable. And Love was exceptional in the first half of this game. I mean, he was surgical. And then they come out, first 4 drives of the second half, the Packers get a grand total of 1 first down. That is what let the Bears back in this game. That is what gave their offense so many chances. And then even though the Packers were able to drive the ball late, it just ends up being a couple of unfortunate mishaps, really, that lose Green Bay this game on that end. It's McManus costing them 4 points, which obviously if that doesn't happen, this game is tied. And his field goal miss was even more costly because it gave the Bears pretty decent field position. They got to start at their own 34, I believe it was. And then they only had to drive into field goal range to tie it. They end up, of course, getting the touchdown to go ahead. And then that last sequence, obviously, they used 2 timeouts earlier in the half. That puts more pressure on them. They get a minute 30-something seconds with only the 1 timeout, and just a brutal confluence of events. I mean, the injured offensive lineman causing the 10-second runoff, and then the botched snap on the final play of the game. It really kind of felt like a destiny moment. It was like, hey, the Bears, this one's going to you. Everything has gone right for you down the stretch. And they did a lot right. I'm being very clear about that. They were exceptional in their execution. But I did also feel like the Packers had some tough breaks. And I more specifically felt like Jordan Love really got screwed. I thought Jordan Love was really good in this game. I thought he made a lot of really exceptional throws and elite plays. And he ends this one with 323 yards and 4 touchdowns. And even on that final drive, Jaden Reed drops a ball that was perfectly thrown, would have been a big gain and would have put them in much better position to ultimately score a touchdown. So What I very much hope does not happen out of this game is people look at this and they go, oh, Jordan Love lost, and Jordan Love's not very good in the playoffs, because he's been branded with that because he had 2 not good playoff games, but he is an excellent quarterback. He's an elite quarterback. He's proven that this year. I think he proved that even in this game, and I even think he made the plays necessary for his team to win. Sometimes your kicker costs you 4 points, and Caleb Williams is just an absolute dog and a special athlete who made some special plays, and the Bears defense really stepped up too.
I do too. I mean, the only criticisms I have of Jordan Love from this game really are the procedural penalties that I mentioned earlier, the 2 intentional groundings, the delay of game. I think those are the intentional groundings, I think, are marginal. I think the delay of game is actually inexcusable. I don't think that can happen at such a crucial point in the game, but that's so marginal. And when you're talking about these throws, I thought he made all of them.
Yeah.
I kind of put it more so on his receivers to make the plays. Like, I thought they did a really good job in this game of attacking Kyler Gordon. He just got healthy. You know, I mean, guys matched up on him one-on-one when they gave them man looks. Whoever he was matched up against was basically open every single time. And for the most part in this game, I thought Jordan Love was fantastic versus man and zone coverage. Whatever look Chicago threw at him, he had the answers to. Also, I thought Jordan Love, for the most part, outside of that, obviously 4-drive skid, right? You can't happen. Chicago did a much better job of getting pressure home. I want to give them props too. Pressure ratcheted up. Coverage got a lot better during those 4 drives.
And specifically just by blitzing so much more. I mean, I think they blitzed on more than 50% of downs, at least early in that second half. So it's an incredible change in game plan by Dennis Allen, especially because in their first meeting in the regular season, they tried to blitz Jordan Love and it didn't work. He picked them apart, but they were able to execute it so much better. And I do think the groundings, they would have been sacks. Nobody's open. He's under duress. Both those drives had already kind of sputtered out. So I don't view those as particularly harmful plays. I'll agree with you on the delay of game, but also I think we immediately wipe that from our minds if Brandon McManus makes what is a 90% field goal for NFL kickers.
Well, and that's the biggest thing to contextualize when we're thinking about the end of this game. It's like, you know, if a kicker
I also thought they missed a clear PI on Tremaine Edmonds when he was covering whoever that was. He did not play the ball whatsoever. He was face guarding and he shoved him. I thought that ball should have been on the goal line.
I put that on the tight end. He's got to bitch and moan for that flag a little bit more. He didn't really put his heart into it. You know, he just kind of laid there. You got to go ref. You know, you got to crash out.
Yeah, he just threw the hands up. That's not enough.
Exactly. You know, you got to throw a tantrum. You got to throw a hissy fit in that moment.
I think Packers fans will hear that and they'll say, yeah, that's right. That's reasonable.
I wondered about that one. I didn't think it was egregious enough to, like, I didn't mind it not being called. But the Bears did everything they could down the stretch in this game. I mean, it was super impressive, man. I thought Caleb's heroics were amazing as always. Some of the big time throws, like Caleb's consistency is frustrating. If you ask me what quarterback played a better 4 quarters, it would be Jordan Love, no doubt. Like the 2 interceptions, maybe you look at the stat lines and you go, you know, obviously, but the 2 4th down interceptions, and like one of them's an arm punt. I actually don't even care. You know, that actually made Chicago end up with better field position anyway. But
DB's just got to drop that ball. That's the next evolution of coaching up DBs.
You got to have awareness.
Go aside, forget your instincts for a second. You're talking about a 28-yard swing in field position in a playoff game.
I don't know how you feel about this. One of the big reasons why I took Chicago in this game was because they were the healthier team, though. And I thought that kind of got lost in the mix when we were talking about this game. And it was super close. This was the tightest game to me to pick between 50-50, division rival. Somebody was going to go home heartbroken, right? It's like when we got, you know, anytime a division rival matches up, it's your 3rd time facing off in a season. It's going to be super close. But that was one of the things I thought got lost in the shuffle. And one of the reasons Chicago was able to hang in this game, where you see some of these playmakers for Green Bay not coming up in making plays. Like, I thought Dobbs was good, but not great. Like, he had a few more plays he could have made. I thought Matthew Golden was
pretty good
in this game. Well, Dobbs made I'm just talking about really that one at the end I thought he could have caught. And again, Jordan Love, I thought, did a good job of keeping the Bears at like arm's length for most of this game. Like, it kind of seemed like down to it, even on the final 2 drives, that Green Bay was just going to keep Chicago away enough that they weren't going to be able to win this one. But that was one of the things I thought got lost in the mix a little bit, them being down a Tucker Kraft. You know what I mean? Them being down a Micah Parsons, a Devontae Wyatt, a Zach Tom. You lose another lineman during the game. And the Bears, on the contrary, just got Edmonds back, right? Just got TJ Edwards back. They got Burden. They got Moore. They got Odunze. All these players coming healthy at the right time. that mattered a little bit to me when I was picking the details of this game. And I thought that I feel like if one of those difference makers was out there for Green Bay, that may have been enough to put them over the top in this game. With a game that's, so close between two division rivals, that may have been enough of a difference to get Green Bay to win this game. I mean, they had the plays to be made because, again, I don't want this to get lost. If not only McManus missing that field goal, not only does it put the Packers back against the wall and force them to have to score on that final drive, it gave Chicago a short field to go and get that touchdown. Like, there's an additional consequence that comes with that field goal. And again, I just don't want that to get lost in all this. If McManus just makes an extra point and makes a 44-yard field goal, the Packers, this is saying the Bears still score on that drive. The Packers are going to win that game with a field goal on the final drive instead of having to be forced to score a touchdown. I just think it's important to kind of reinforce the ripple effects of some of these little mistakes.
Absolutely. That's the difference in a game like this. It was crazy how much was put on each quarterback. Like, both of these guys had to drop back almost 50 times in this game. Both of them did a very good job, I would say, of evading pressure in terms of not taking sacks, and both of them on several occasions escaped and made big plays. I really thought that was clearly Caleb's strength in this game. We're not just talking about the one remarkable throw he makes on 4th and 8. I thought overall, most of his plus plays in this game were not really within structure. It was more so him finding a way to do something on the run where, again, he still missed some throws, and I thought Love was more consistent. But for Caleb to wind up with 361 passing yards in this game, and for them to put up 25 points in the fourth quarter, overwhelmingly throwing the ball, I would not have been confident in the Bears' ability to execute that game script to win this game. If you told me first half, Chicago really gets dominated at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, they're not able to run the ball efficiently, which has been the strength of this offense all year. They're able to generate zero pressure. That wouldn't have surprised me. I would have said, yeah, I expect both of these defenses to be kind of fighting with their hands tied behind their backs to some extent for Chicago, just because personnel, and they haven't been a good defense this year. For Green Bay, because of the devastating injuries, especially Micah. But I thought it was really big time stuff. And the one thing that you cannot ever question about Caleb Williams, there's two really. There's obviously the natural God-given physical ability that he has to make those, oh my God, how did he do that play? But then there's also the competitive instinct that he does have. And I don't think it's a good formula to consistently be behind in football games and have to dig your way out of it, especially throughout the regular season. The Bears kind of had to do that against a lot of shitty teams. You're escaping against the Raiders, you're escaping against the Commanders. You don't want to do that. But there is that never say die attitude. And there is that ability to adjust and improve throughout a game that this team has clearly proven they have throughout this season. And it's like the most perfect Bears playoff win ever, to have their backs against the wall. Not just that, to look dead. I wrote them off. I thought the game was over. I thought all of their flaws had come to light, and I thought Green Bay was just the better football team. And they pulled off the most miraculous addition of the remarkable way that they've been winning football games this year. And I do think you look at Caleb and you view it as a signature performance. Again, there's still a lot that needs to be ironed out with him, that needs to be more dependable. But man, he did what he needed to in this one. And he still has so much room for growth. Obviously, we're talking about a year 2 quarterback here. It's not reasonable to compare a year 2 quarterback to a year 6 quarterback. I do think that Love is clearly better between the two. I don't know if the result of this game is going to flip the narrative on that. I hope it doesn't. Maybe it will, because we know how people react to playoff results, wins, losses, and make everything about the quarterback. But this is big time stuff from Caleb Williams, man. Showed a lot of heart and showed a lot of ability.
I thought Love was very composed this entire game. I was very impressed with Jordan Love. In comparison to the other playoff games I've seen Jordan Love play in, I was super impressed. Honestly.
Yeah. He's got 2 really good ones now, and he's got 2 bad ones, because the Cowboys game, he was great. This game, I thought he was really good.
Even down to the last drive, I never felt like Jordan Love was out of control or flustered. With Caleb, though, and I saw this during the game, when he's scrambling and getting out of the pocket and all that stuff, it's like you just see the special traits that still make Caleb. It's a reason why he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in football one day. But I don't think you can overlook what we saw in the first half and some of the stuff. I thought Caleb was really inaccurate on some throws that were really open earlier in this game. And that's winning cures all, winning fixes everything, and but it's not going to make me overlook his flaws. I thought the Packers were debilitated enough coming into this game, and the Bears were getting healthy enough, and I thought that because this was the third matchup between two division rivals, it was going to be a bit of a wonky, kind of weird, closer than it needed to be kind of game. But this is why when I look forward for Chicago, why I am a little bit more pessimistic about them going on a run. Yes, they can win this game. And you know what? There is one advantage. The one advantage I would give Chicago, and I'm going to just put a bow on this real quick.
Yeah.
The Bears digging themselves these holes and Caleb missing on these throws and not converting drives earlier in games is what I'm specifically nervous about. What I do like, damn, I'm about to be slow. The Bears still play at Soldier Field, right?
Yeah.
That place was rocking, man. And whoever goes there next week, because the Bears are going to host a playoff game, that's the one real advantage I would give Chicago. That place is going to be rowdy, and I would not want to have to travel to Chicago to play the Bears. But specifically on the field, no, Carson, I agree with you. And I understand why you picked them against them coming into this football game. And I tell you what, I really hope this is not the recipe that the Bears come out with next week. And I'm sure Ben Johnson would tell you the same thing. They want to establish the run and have a more balanced offensive attack end to end. They want to be more successful defensively. Earlier in the game, the Packers were picking them apart. I'm sure they don't like having to dig themselves out of these enormous holes, week to week to win these games. It's not a formula you want to bank on. It's enough for one game. But that is why I'm a little bit more skeptical about the Bears moving forward. And the biggest reason is probably Caleb in the defense. I don't know which one I would put. I don't know which one I would put number one now. I don't know what my biggest concern is.
Those are the exact things that I mentioned. And I want to be clear. It's not that Caleb isn't good. It's that Caleb isn't consistent. That's the reality. You have a lot of these bipolar performances where you don't know what you're getting drive to drive, series to series, down to down. And that has put this team in holes. Again, Caleb did an unbelievable job to overcome it. So I want to be clear. Clearly, my prediction was wrong. Even my analysis of this game at halftime was wrong. I don't think that means that all these things about the Bears aren't true, though. And I don't know if this defense can replicate a performance like they had in the second half today. I thought that was the best they've played all year, just straight up, unbelievable turnaround from the first half. And Caleb, he probably could replicate this, but is it more likely than not? They needed that magic, and maybe that they have that magic within them. And regardless, they won a playoff game, man. They beat their biggest rival. They turned everything around in such a significant way in one season. They found the coach. The draft class they had with Loveland and Luther Burden, who were their two best pass catchers, especially Loveland was unbelievable in this game, but Luther Burden is the guy who Caleb's looking to on those third downs early. He's had such an emergence down the stretch, and drafting Rome last year, the offensive line is unbelievable. So much has gone so right for this team. And I still thought, while that may be true, they're a year away. They're not going to be ready this year. The defense is too bad. Caleb isn't consistent enough. And now you're talking about 11 wins and a playoff win. Whatever happens from here, you really can't complain if you're a Bears fan. I mean, let me be very clear. They're too flawed to win the Super Bowl. I don't even think that's a consideration because of all the reasons that I have laid out there. But they won this game in the most difficult of circumstances. The biggest game they've had in a long time.
It's the Bears' first playoff win in 15 years. They haven't won a playoff game since they went to the NFC title game with Caleb Haney at the helm.
The great Caleb Haney.
Because Jay Cutler got hurt. Loveland had the most receiving yards in a playoff game by a rookie tight end since Keith Jackson, man.
Eagles legend Keith Jackson. Also, Caleb Williams set the Bears single-game playoff passing yards record.
I bet. It was probably
they don't have a rich playoff history despite having been around for 100 years, but from the young fellas to step up like that in the clutch, it's incredible.
It is. And Caleb is as talented as anybody in the league and can make any throw possible. Can he do it to a down-to-down basis? But who cares about all the future talk for the Bears, man? Live in the moment. Go drink 1 million beers right now. Go celebrate it, Bears fans. Dude, I legitimately feel like Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams exercise some demons tonight, man. That is a big monkey to get off your back. Who knows what the future holds for this team? If Super Bowls are on the horizon, if the team's going to be a perennial playoff contender, being in the moment right now, this is huge for Chicago fans, and I am so excited for them, man. Like, I don't know where it is among the like playoff losing streaks, but I gotta think it's among one of the longest, like with Miami and New York, the Jets, to be specific. Like,
Jets haven't been there since 2010, but they did get to the AFC title game last time they were there.
But this is just huge for Chicago, and I'm really excited for their fans. This is awesome.
I kind of can't believe it, because in my head, I was thinking, okay, what does have to get better for the Bears as we look to the future with them? Now we're looking at the other side of this equation, where obviously this Packers team had a lot of tough breaks this year, and it ends in the most heartbreaking way. I feel so bad for Packers fans, because while this has been a season of whimsy and magic and joy and snatching victory from the jaws of defeat for the Bears and everything trending upwards, the Packers are this team that was full of so much hope, that started so strong, that was so talented, and yet down the stretch, they have just crumbled physically, really more than anything coming into this one. But then they are clearly in the driver's seat. They're dominating this football game, and it seems like there's a way to salvage a little bit of light, a little bit of joy from this season, and it ends in like the most gut-wrenching, twist the knife in your stomach way possible. What does this team have to do to get back to where they want to be, to where they're not just the 7 seed, which is where they seem to be very comfortable in recent years, but where they're winning playoff games, where they are contending, as I thought they had the potential to do at full health coming into this season, and even throughout this season before the injuries decimated them?
This is going to sound kind of dumb when I say this. It almost may be like a negative winning the NFC North or finishing in second place and making the playoffs because of the way that you get the schedule. I think a big reason, and people aren't going to like this take, but I think a big reason why the Bears ended up winning this division was because of the schedule that they ended up getting, because they were the 4 seed last year.
I mean, that's fair, dude. They went 2-4 within the division.
This is also being contingent on the fact that if the Vikings don't have a ton of turnover this offseason, like, it almost may be kind of a victory for the Detroits and Minnesotas of the world if they can keep enough continuity with their current roster, specifically for the Vikings, if they can hold on to a guy like Brian Flores. That's the biggest question mark around their team this offseason. But being able to play that light schedule, because, damn, man, you can't ever make big declarations about the NFL and futures, because everything changes so rapidly and so much can turn on its head in one offseason. But it really does feel like the NFC North is just going to cannibalize itself for every year because of how good these teams are. Like, I don't want to underscore the fact that, or I don't want to understate the fact that Minnesota had some of the worst QB play of any team in the NFL this year, and they still managed to win 8 games.
How many games? No. How many games,
9?
Logan?
My bad. They
9.
Won 9.
They won 9. Lock in. They got 9. They win 9.
There's no such thing as an easy game. And
no,
I kind of think that the Lions and the Vikes need to figure out their quarterback position. I kind of feel like that's a little advantage. Anyway, on actual things that Green Bay needs to do, try your best to keep the coaching staff together. I think that's number one. Jeff Hafley is going to be one of the big-time defensive coordinators. We're already hearing he's being interviewed by a lot of teams as a potential head coach. So, number one, maybe replacing Jeff Hafley if you need to. I would try to retain him as much as possible.
Yeah.
After that, I think the Packers need to invest a little bit in their secondary. I was a little disappointed with some of that today. That's one of my bigger concerns about this team overall. But honestly, more than anything else, and maybe people won't like this as well, I think the Packers are so well coached that, like, if they just stayed healthy, I feel like the Packers may have been my pick to go. I would have picked them to win this. I said it on the pod, but if Micah Parsons was healthy, I would have taken them to win this football game. I think he is the difference maker and would have wrecked this game in a different way, the way Chicago wouldn't have been able to creep in, through the back door the way they did in the second half. I think.
Right. He's literally the game ender. I mean, he was the best clutch defensive player in the NFL this year.
That's what I'm saying. I think Parsons would have been there with his shotgun at the back door. He's ready to take you out.
That's not legal. That's not allowed on the field.
On your property. If they come into your property, you can.
Well, it's a road game. It's an away game.
That's very true. But I actually just think the Packers got crushed this year by some really horrible injury luck. I think coaching needs to be a big priority. I would invest in the secondary, maybe O-line depth, like trench depth, I guess, maybe an investment. But I love the Packers. I think that if there's a team that Again, actually, I might take Chicago. I really like what I saw from Chicago, even though they're going to have the number one schedule next season. I would probably take them to win the division next year just because they have Ben Johnson in another year potentially of improved Caleb. But I think Green Bay is going to be right back in the playoffs next year. They would be my pick with a healthy Micah to be right back competing.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, it's kind of always hard to say with the NFC North because there's so many good teams, and that division is always likely going to come down to the last few weeks of the season. But I don't think Green Bay is going to be far away at all. They've got a cornerstone at quarterback, a top 10 guy in Jordan Love. He is a franchise guy. They hit it out of the park with him. They have a Micah Parsons on the other end. Like, this team gets healthy in the offseason, crushes the draft like they always do. I've got a really high level of confidence that Green Bay is going to be right back in the playoffs next season.
I totally agree. And honestly, they would be my favorite because I do think they just had such brutal health luck. And I think they have a ton of talent. I do think they're the most complete team in the division. And I think they're really well coached. It's just devastating when you lose probably the second best defensive player on the planet. It's no coincidence that they were 9-4-1 when Micah got hurt, and then they lost their last 4 games of the year. Now, of course, they sat everybody versus Minnesota, and Love got hurt too. But that's kind of the whole theme here, right? It's just like everything unraveled for them. But I do think he changes this game. I think he changes every game. The fact that this defense ended the year 23rd in points per drive allowed, like, that just doesn't happen with Micah Parsons on the field. They were hovering around in the top 10 in that stat when he was out there. So that's a huge loss. Of course, the biggest loss. I do look at the totality of this passing attack and the pass catchers, though, and I feel really good about it. Like, Matthew Golden, who was not utilized much throughout the season, had his best game of the year.
Dude, it was like they were breaking the emergency glass on him in this game.
Exactly. It's like, okay, we need a knockout punch. And he just made an exceptional play after the catch on that screen. It was not the knockout punch because the Bears have a hell of a fucking chin. But Christian Watson was so good down the stretch for this team. Jaden Reed, Romeo Dobbs, the totality of this, when you insert Kraft, who was playing like a top 5 tight end this year, and then you have Jordan Love, who played such elite football this year. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but man, I hope he is not the one who is getting the blame heaped on him for this, because for so much of the year, he was asked to elevate this offense in a way that in previous years he wasn't even, where they were more of a run-heavy team and they were more about the play-action passing attack, and their run game just wasn't the same this year. And yet their offense, when Love was on the field, fringe top 5. And this guy finished the year second in EPA per play, and he averaged almost 8 yards per attempt, and he was 23 touchdowns to 6 picks while being incredible when it comes to sack evasion. And he's just got every physical trait that you need, and he's got the poise, and he's got the accuracy, he's got the arm talent, the mobility. So I was so impressed with what he did end to end this year. And like you said, it just did feel like everything was collapsing around him late in this one. And props to the Bears' home field advantage, because that false start, even on that final series, after you have the 10-second runoff from the injury, like, that's brutal now when you're looking at a second 15 instead of a second and 10. You got 5 more yards you need to go.
I think I've ever heard.
The Bears fans were crazed, dude, and understandably so. They've been waiting for this for the better part of 2 decades. Yeah. And they put all of their energy, everything in their life was riding on this game. And I think it is genuinely what drove their team to victory. But Love was able to do what he needed to do. Like, just straight up. No, they were depraved out there. They were sick fucks out there. They were looking for blood, but in all the right ways. And I do feel like even if he had more time, if they had 2 timeouts, it felt like he was playing at that level where he could have gotten it done today. So I don't want to get into the hypotheticals, but we don't have to. I thought Jordan Love did enough today. I thought Jordan Love was excellent this season. And unfortunately, things just unraveled around him down the stretch and in this game. And that Packers defense just ultimately was not up to snuff. This is why this kind of had the feel coming into it of it's probably going to be a higher scoring game, even though the first 2 meetings between these teams weren't necessarily, and this one wasn't even for a while. Again, the Bears had 6 points going into the fourth quarter, but it just became haymaker after haymaker, and the Bears delivered that final blow. Shout out to them, dude. What an accomplishment. What a turnaround in one season. Everything is on the up and up for Chicago, and this is a signature defining win for them. Absolutely insane game, Logan. Obviously steals the headlines, but we cannot forget the absolute humdinger that we got to start this day, which I totally underestimated. Thought this was probably going to be the snooze fest of wildcard weekend because there tends to be one. Instead, this one also featured a game-winning drive, and this one was also high-scoring and dramatic and back and forth. The Rams just narrowly escape against the Carolina Panthers, Logan. We did not expect this. So, considering this game was as close as it was that more concerning for the Rams, or was that more impressive by Carolina and a testament to what they did?
A little of both.
He's going to say both. Yep. No, that's valid. And it's correct. I just want a take out of you, man. I can't get a take out of you.
Honestly,
tell the truth.
If I had
why don't you just say Bryce Young's the worst football player I've ever seen because his team didn't win the game?
Bruh.
Well, why don't you do it like Ryan Clark? Why don't you say no matter what happens out there, the quarterback who wins is the greatest ever, and the quarterback who loses is the worst ever?
Ryan Clark has a severe case of CTE because he was knocking guys' blocks off for 10 years. So why do they put a mic in his face and let him talk, man? I always wondered about that, No, it's not. It's like
why do they let us do it? Well, nobody lets us. We just decided.
Yeah, but see, me and you intentionally get concussed before we come on the pod. Ryan's just,
of course,
perpetually there. Dude, this game swung on its head right at the end of the first half where I thought the Rams almost just horribly mismanaged this game because there's kind of a decision to be made on that last drive, right? They're already up 17-7. The Panthers are lifeless, and Carolina bails you out by muffing that punt. Trevor Etienne muffs a punt. Mind you, earlier in this drive, Stafford overthrew Adams on a go route down the left sideline. That could have been a huge other play for the Rams, but they're going to punt it back to the Panthers before the end of the first half. You think they're probably just going to get them off the field. The Panthers aren't going to score. Panthers open the door to just let them run away with this game after Etienne's muffed punt. And now you have a real decision to make if you're Sean McVay. I can get greedy and I can try to go for the end zone, and I get it. There was a ton of wind in the game, so I understand them not kicking a field goal at that point.
Yeah.
But so they couldn't run all the clock out, but they go for it on fourth down. Stafford could have scrambled for that first down. Instead, he throws an incomplete pass to Higbee. I get he's ancient.
Would he have scrambled for it? Any other quarterback in the NFL could. Could he have?
I thought it reminded me of that Rodgers one from
I agree.
The other game where it was like, oh, man, old man. I literally wrote down in my notes, Stafford got scared. I think he got it.
There's a lot of green grass, but not moving very fast out there.
Mm-hmm. And what set that up earlier in the game, what set that drive up to be a fourth down was the Steve Avila block in the back that took away a screen pass. And that was another theme of this game, was just all of the penalties for Los Angeles. There are 4 or 5 drives in this game, and I'll go through it in more detail a little bit later, of drives that were immediately extended by a Rams penalty that led to Panthers points.
Mm-hmm.
That was a huge theme of this game. Like, that drive to me swung this game on its head because that allows the Panthers to get the Rams off the field with time on the clock to get points before the end of this first half. Rams, Quentin Lake has a 36-yard DPI penalty on the next drive, and Young gets points before the end of this first half. You got to think about this. You go from 20-7 if you get a field goal in that possession, 24-7. Ball game is over. Slam the door shut on Carolina, to 17-14, and Carolina has got a ton of life. I thought that really flipped this game on its head, and the Rams were not good in crucial situations in the first half. Puka drops a wide open pass from Stafford at the end of the first half. Still, that could have been a TD. I already mentioned the one from Devontae. They go 1 of 6 on third down and 0 of 1 on fourth. And they just let them hang around. And all the penalties, man. They mentioned this on the broadcast. The Rams have been the least penalized NFL team over the last 5 seasons. Every single year, the Rams have been the least penalized team in football, and they've been the second least penalized NFL offense this season. They have 9 penalties in this game for 83 yards, and so many of them, man. Another holding penalty late in this game backs them up, and then they get a punt blocked, gives the Panthers a short field that puts them back in the driver's seat of this game, man. It's like, I'm encouraged about this game from Carolina, and I'm I'm really impressed with Dave Canales. I think Dave Canales is a great preparer of men. I think he gets guys super prepared well. I think his players know how to run systems. I think he is a talent maximizer. I think the only reason the Rams won this game is because they're the most talented team in football. I thought that they got out-coached and out-schemed in this game. Like, Dave Canales. Yeah, Dave Canales had his boys ready to go. I literally think the only reason the Rams won this was because they are, again, the most talented team in football. Like, I was so impressed.
There's not a bigger difference in Jimmy's and Joe's in Wild Card
no
weekend
doubt.
than between these two teams, and it still went down to the wire.
And I was super impressed with Bryce Young. Carson, you've been saying it, I think, for 2 years now, and I have been
just when I think I'm out, he pulls me back in. It's not inevitable.
He's not Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, whoa. Yeah, no shit, he's not Kenny Pickett. I forgot you go around saying that.
The thing that really impressed me with Bryce today, one, his poise, his accuracy. Bryce is very accurate. Some of those, the one, I can't remember who it was to, that one touchdown throw, I think it was to Coker. That one he dropped in the back left of the end zone in the bucket. I mean, you can't throw it no more perfect. Bryce has his limitations in terms of off-platform and angles and stuff he can do on the run in power. But in terms of accuracy from like 0 yards to 30, Bryce is pinpoint, man. So his poise, his accuracy, and not his mobility in totality, but his burst. Bryce has gotten so much better at picking a hole that he can find a little crease that his offensive line finds and bursting through it. He's not the fastest quarterback, but he can get up to top speed in a hurry. And let me be clear about this, because I've been very skeptical about Bryce. I've been very pessimistic about the Panthers. I don't know if Bryce is a franchise quarterback like a Jordan Love. I wouldn't bet on him to be one, but I think you can win 10 games with Bryce. I think Bryce can get you to the playoffs. I think Bryce can be a starter. I say this to be like, I don't think he's going to be like a typical number 1 pick. I don't think he's like a Caleb. I don't think he's that kind of talent.
No,
I don't think he's a CJ Stroud. But I think I did underestimate what Bryce can be at his best. And Bryce is a really good processor, because someone I like to routinely comp Bryce to, and I think it was disingenuous, is Tua. Tua's an idiot. Tua can't read a defense. Bryce, like, Tua is such a first read, and I'm fucked. You get him off his first read, boom, the whole thing falls apart. Bryce can read a defense. He can get through his progressions. I just trust him more to actually
freak out. He doesn't panic.
Exactly,
he's got some poise
to read a defense. And I think I've underestimated that about him, and I was really impressed with him. This is a ferocious pass rush. And for him to stand in there, to make plays, to not lose composure, I've seen a lot of growth from Bryce as a rookie quarterback. And again, I'm not doing a complete 180. I'm not saying I think he's a franchise guy, but could Bryce be a top half of this league quarterback? Could he be a top 16 to 20 kind of guy? Yeah. And people may be like, wow, hot take, a number 1 pick could be that. I have never been there with Bryce. And after this game, I can say that I am definitely reinforced on, I think Dave Canales is the man. And the Panthers need to keep him around, dude. He's awesome. I love him. And I just think he's one of my favorite coaches in the NFL. I think he got everything he could have gotten out of this Panthers roster, and that is the true testament to a great head coach.
I agree, dude. We saw a lot of head coaches out there today. I mean, the 4 we saw, these 2, Canales, McVay, and then LaFleur and Ben Johnson in the other matchup, 4 of the 10 best coaches in the NFL, I would say. I thought that Canales was deserving of at least some shouts on the periphery of the coach of the year conversation. He would have been like my 6th guy because it was a loaded race, but it's absolutely what you said, dude. He's a talent maximizer. He's a great game planner. I thought it was just such a great adjustment to be so much of a pass first offense today, because all year they've been a run first team. In the first meeting between these two, when they beat the Rams, it was really, okay, we are going to run the football down your throats. And then that's going to open up some efficient passing opportunities for us, which they had when they were able to attack the secondary even in the first meeting. But today they came out and they said, we're throwing on first downs. We're running a lot of play action on first downs, and we're going to trust our big physical athletic receivers to win on the perimeter. We're going to test this flawed secondary, and all of that stuff went really well. Like, it wasn't just the absolute right strategy and a pretty bold strategy to say, okay, Bryce, we're going to put the ball more in your hands against this pass rush when the run game has been our strength. But in recent weeks, teams have gotten a bit more of a beat on that. The run game hasn't been what it was in like the middle stretch of the season when Carolina really got hot and the offense was humming a little bit more. It worked, man. And you got to give a lot of credit to Coker and Tet, because the game plan doesn't work if those guys aren't consistently winning, and they just did.
I just want to add to one, I completely agree with you. I think that was the advantage that Carolina had coming into this game, specifically those two big-ass physical receivers, where you look at the Rams secondary, and Quentin Lake just came back from injury. They're relentless going at him. Emmanuel Forbes, one of the smallest cornerbacks in football, relentlessly attacking him when he's on the field. And they had nobody that can match up with them. I just wanted to add real quick. One, I love that archetype of receiver with Bryce for such an accurate quarterback. Like, totally. he can get, well, one, I think those guys kind of make him because Bryce, they're such good contested receiver, like, players like at contested catches, 50-50 balls. But also Bryce is so pinpoint accurate that, those guys' catch radius is so large, they can go out and get everything. I just think they did a great job drafting both of those guys for Bryce. I think they fit so well, and they are the reason that the Panthers were in this game, too. Also, dude, this is the highest average air yards of any game for Bryce this season, man.
Wow. Yeah,
he really stepped up.
And I thought that he controlled the game well, and he made timely plays. Speaking of which, you got to give credit to a lot of the quarterbacks we saw for making timely plays when you have a lot of these big final clutch exchanges like we did. Big haymaker one way, big haymaker the other. That's going to happen. But Bryce was pretty good on third down. He had the clutch scramble for a touchdown on third down. He had a beautifully placed go-ahead touchdown, as you mentioned, to Coker. He was accurate overall. That is his strength. And when it comes to thinking the game, I do think sometimes I cannot give Bryce enough credit for how that compensates for his physical limitations. That pre-snap, especially for being a third-year guy, I do think he's impressive. I thought the fact that twice they just went to that RPO quick slant, him to Tet, and that was a easy first down. He was just making the right decisions. Ultimately, the offense totally maxed out their potential. They exploited the right things in this Rams defense. They executed. They put up 31 points. Like, you could not have asked for more out of this team on that side of the ball. They totally overachieved my expectations. I've been talking about this Carolina team and saying they're one of the worst playoff teams we've seen. In fact, last week I accidentally said they're one of the worst teams we've seen. And then you nicely added in playoff for me, which is what I meant, of course, but fourth worst playoff point differential that we've ever seen from a team since the merger. And, they were like 24th in offensive points per drive and 26th in defensive points per drive allowed. And I was like, they just don't belong on the same field. Even though they beat the Rams, I thought they're not going to be able to replicate anything close to that performance. And they did. They played them tight, and the offense is what deserves most of the credit for that. You did ultimately see their limitations, because when the Rams pass rush was great, when that pass rush did what you expect them to do, when they got pressure, and that happened really early in this game and late in this game on like that final drive, that's when the Panthers offense did stall out. And you see that Bryce ultimately is not able to overcome that level of pressure. He can be physically overwhelmed. He doesn't have the size and the arm talent from within the pocket as it's collapsing to make some of those next level throws. He can move, but we know that he's not really one of those upper echelon, out of structure creators with his legs outside the pocket. And so the offense did look rough at those moments, but overall they fought. They made this a really good game. They held up. I've got a lot of good things to say about a Carolina team that I did not think was going to make this a football game at all. Specifically, they doubled the point total I expected out of them. The Rams offense, I thought, would put up 34. They put up 34. Even that wasn't as pretty as I was expecting, though. So I do want to look at the concerning side of this for the Rams, because as much as Carolina impressed me in this one, I thought every red flag about this Rams team that we would have mentioned was very much exposed in this one and key to the reason that this was such a close football game. What did stand out to you on that front in terms of any alarm bells that maybe went off?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that we have to touch on is the secondary play from Los Angeles. I do think that was huge in this game. The fact that Coker, Tet, even Leggett was getting involved, like abusing the secondary at points. The other thing was just all of the second concerning thing, and this isn't as big of a deal, Stafford going cold during the middle of the game, that really cold Ram stretch. I mean, I wrote it down. Yeah, he goes 2 of 12 after starting 8-8 in this game. I mean, just had an abysmal stretch where they freeze. The bigger issue to me, the biggest issue at least in this game, and I've got, I think, almost every one of them, all of the penalties. I mean, it's unbelievable to me, every single one of them, every drive almost, just in the first half alone. Carolina's fourth drive, 3rd and 3, DPI penalty on Kobe Durant sets up the 1st and goal. They immediately score on the next drive. Next drive for LA. Next play, excuse me. Next drive for LA, 2 penalties. A Devontae Adams false start and offsides penalty forces them to take a field goal. I already mentioned the block in the back penalty that led to that 4th down for LA, and then the turnover on downs. Next one, you got the Quentin Lake DPI, leads to the Bryce Young scramble TD. That's just in the first half. And in the second half, that depth defensive end getting the taunting penalty. Braden Fisk getting an offsides, giving Carolina a free play. That gives them 3 points. Like, these are too many penalties for a team that is this disciplined and that has so many lofty expectations, man. Like, that's how you make a game this tight. There is such a talent disparity between both of these teams. You have to shoot yourself in the foot to give themselves an opportunity to get back in this game. And it was everything. The Stafford interception to Mike Jackson. I want to give credit to Mike Jackson. Holy shit, that dude's just a really great player.
Yeah, man.
He is a baller. He was everywhere in this football game, man. And then so you got the Stafford pick. That leads to a Coker shot play and then a Rams penalty, Carolina touchdown, and the lead. The Landman helmet-to-helmet penalty. That sets up another Hubbard TD. Like, the penalties, man, that was really huge for me in this one. And, like, what ends up being their saving grace, they get the ball back second to last. They go into big personnel in the red zone. Parkinson makes a great catch on a wheel route. Great catch, great ball placement. Stafford gets his 54th career game-winning drive, and pressure gets home. But it's like, I don't know how you can feel good about skating by the Carolina Panthers by 3 points. You know, Stafford comes up big, their pressure gets home, but, like, if you do this against any other team in the NFC playoff field, you are going to lose. That is just a 100%. Fact, man. Again, I want to give a ton of credit to Carolina for how they played today. I couldn't believe this game was this close. They played their hearts out. This team has a ton of heart, and they're ahead of schedule. Next year, they might be my favorite to win the NFC South, man. I'll have to see how.
Somebody's got to be.
I guess. Damn right. Maybe we'll just blow the NFC South up. We won't have a winner next year. But
sure,
it's a super encouraging year for them, but I don't think the Rams are patting themselves on the back or feeling great after this one. Like, a ton of missed opportunities, a ton of missed points out on the field, a ton of drives extended by costly penalties, Stafford's cold stretch. Like, there's a lot that the Rams are going to need to clean up next week. And this is important. This is a Rams team that is a low seed. They did not win their division. They are going to have to go on 3 straight road games to get to the Super Bowl. Like,
true.
You gotta tighten up, man. This is not going. You're not going to win a game like this next week if you put the same product on the field.
Yeah, and they very may well have to go to Seattle now because the Packers losing would have taken them out of that matchup. Now they need another low seed to win. They need the Niners to win to avoid that matchup, which is a big, big time escalation in terms of the caliber of competition and the precision that is required of you to win. Because I do think there's the optimistic angle to take, which is, hey, the Rams played well below their standards. They had very flawed performances in all three phases of the game, and they still won. And that is worth commending. You survived. You lived to see another day. Matt Stafford led a super clutch touchdown drive. Like, of course, that is essential. Your season was on the line. You didn't expect it to be. It shouldn't have been really, but you dug your way out of that. And maybe you go on from now and you win the Super Bowl and you say, oh my God, that was an essential sequence and they found a way to get it done. And that's what champions do. All of that can be true. But like you said, I still think you feel bad about this performance if you're a Rams fan with the expectations they have and with how specifically the questionable parts of this team were beyond questionable and were just problematic in this one. The first thing, as you mentioned, it's the secondary. That's when the one spot you look at as a potential vulnerability with this team all year. And they got Quentin Lake back.
Bruh.
I thought that was going to help them. He really struggled in this game. He was getting burnt out there.
Dude, real quick, shout out friend of the show, Gabe Swartz, for this stat.
Yeah.
NFL teams all time to score 25 points in the fourth quarter of a playoff game to overcome a 15-point deficit. The Bears tonight and the Pats in Super Bowl 51.
Sounds about right, man. That's historic stuff. That was absolute madness that we saw out there. And a glimpse of a very bright future of duels between those two quarterbacks, between those two teams. I think that's the headline. Caleb isn't a finished product.
Real quick.
We already saw the highs. Yeah.
I know we ranked them earlier, but who would you rather have?
Long term?
Yeah.
It's a really good question.
I know. I
think
just
that
asked
Love is
because I know
better right
Jordan's.
now.
I know Jordan's your guy.
Yeah. I think Caleb has such insane physical gifts, but I would still prefer the poise and the accuracy that I know that I can bank on with Love. Like, there's probably a higher ceiling with Caleb, but the difference in floor right now,
I
even though
understand it.
Love is more experienced, like, the accuracy is not an experience thing, right? Up to this point, that's a mechanics, that's a skill thing that has to get better. And I
100%.
do feel like Love is already so polished. He's just totally stamped among those top 10 guys. Whereas Caleb is still a guy who I do feel like he has these great highs, he has these low lows, and is more so dependent overall on what the situation is. Whereas Love is a guy who I look at as a legitimate elevator. So Caleb can clearly get there. And again, that's the takeaway. You're looking at two quarterbacks who have unbelievable physical tools, who have immense amounts of talent, who both made a lot of big plays today. The Packers went 3 of 3 on fourth down. The Bears went 10 of 19 on third down. A lot of points put up. Like, I think as much as anything, this is a sign of great things to come in this division between these two offenses, between these two quarterbacks, between these two coaches. And so there's a little bow to put on the whole Bears-Packers game. I hope that this is not the last time we see these two teams do battle in the playoffs. And obviously we'll get to see them do battle a lot in the regular season. And all three of their meetings this year were electric. The Rams today underwhelmed in the secondary. And if you think about some of their losses, if it's to Philly, if it's to San Francisco, if it's to Seattle, that's been kind of the one weak point you look at on this defense and on this team. And this defense just finished the year on a low note. And that was with Quentin Lake not out there in the regular season. But again, he did not perform well in his return today. And overall, the Panthers receivers just convincingly won that key matchup. Them torching the secondary like they did is a huge part of what kept Carolina in this game. Then you look at another problematic aspect for this Rams team, the special teams. They've had problems in the kicking game really all year. They have the blocked punt. That's huge in this game. That gives Carolina a field goal. They start with the ball in field goal range. And you were hinting at this. I even think the lack of confidence in their kicking game in the win specifically was a big reason they went for it at the end of the half on like a questionable go scenario. You know me, I'm Mr. Aggressive, but you did see the contrast to the Panthers in an almost identical situation, deciding to kick. Identical situation in terms of down and distance, not in terms of game flow, because they were trying to tie the game at that point, whereas the Rams were going for something more of a knockout punch in the first half even. But obviously that proves to be a super costly sequence for them. I think if they've got Cam Little, if they've got Will Reichert, if they've got a kicking game they're really confident in, they probably do just take the points there. So that popping up and making this game so close is concerning. And then the third thing that we can't ignore, even though he made some clutch ass plays and he's a great quarterback and he was just acknowledged as the first team all pro quarterback, and that means he's probably going to be the MVP, there are specific instances and specific aspects of Matt Stafford's game in which he just doesn't stack up to the elite quarterbacks. Specifically, you look at his ability to handle and manage pressure, and I do think you have to look at his overall accuracy. But specifically, with that first point, the separator between the top 5 guys and Matthew Stafford is their ability to deal with pressure and create out of structure. You mentioned that play on 4th down. That play is a microcosm for the reason Matthew Stafford was not my MVP. As good as he is, as sexy as the numbers are, any of the top 5 guys are making a play there. They can pick that up with their legs. And that was just the theme throughout this game. The fact that there are certain superheroes who are just younger, who are more athletic, who are way more mobile, who are able to escape some of these tricky situations and make something happen. Whereas Stafford, good as he is, started this game versus pressure 0 of 7 with an interception and a sack. I don't know where he ended up, but those numbers were posted deep into this football game, and he looked old in those spots because he is old.
And he wasn't, they mentioned this during the broadcast too. Outside the numbers, this is at the beginning. This is at the beginning of the 4th quarter. He was 1 of 10 for 10 yards and a pick. That's just outside the numbers, man. And then, I mean, right after that, he threw outside the numbers to Puka in the end zone, and that's where Puka had to break up that pick, the second pick that he almost threw.
So as you said, he was 1 of 11 before that completion to Parkinson, and that was a big-time throw. But it did feel like if you were able to speed him up, if you were able to bring extra rushers, get pressure, and try to force him to test some of those throws outside the numbers, like Matthew Stafford had a brutal game under those circumstances, and that's really what was going wrong in that lull that you mentioned, where he went 2 for 12. But then the other thing was just missing some throws, man, like some throws that were there. Totally airmailed the one to Devontae after he won straight up double move. They sent a corner blitz from his side, like no safety help there. That's got to be a 50-yard pickup. And instead, Stafford just misses that throw. He had the ugly pick, which was under pressure. And then, as you mentioned, he had another throw that 100% should have been intercepted, if not for Puka Nacua doing all the little things that a wide receiver can do that don't show up on the stat sheet and making an elite DB play, which was absolutely massive, because if he doesn't make that play, the Rams are trailing by 4 with about 9 minutes left, and the Panthers have the football. Like, they probably don't win the game if he doesn't make that play. So you can also look at the pass that was dropped by Puka at the end of the first half and say, well, that should have been a touchdown. And by the way, I completely agree with that. So there were just several missed opportunities in the passing game for the Rams in this one.
They end the game 4 of 15 on 3rd and 4th downs, man.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, that's what's so crazy. They had the special teams gaff. Stafford had a pick. The defense was not good. The secondary was bad, and the pass rush wasn't as consistent as you would like them to be. All these things, they had penalties. They had some like really brutal miscues, and they did still find a way to win the football game. But they've got to be a lot better. They got to be a lot cleaner. And it did just feel like every concern you have about Stafford, as good as he is compared to the elite guys, was on display in this game against a pretty bad defense. A defense that was dead last in pressure rate, a defense that was towards the bottom of the league in most categories. So if you are traveling to Seattle now, again, he's had success against Seattle this season. We saw him drop 37 points on them and have an unbelievable performance without Devontae Adams even on the field. So it's not that he can't do it, but I do think if the Panthers were a better defense, they could have at least made that last drive harder, for example, because even though that got me fired up, that was such good stuff from Stafford, like season on the line, 2.5 minutes, you need a touchdown. He just marched them down the field with ease and complete control, knowing what he wanted to get to pre-snap, making good decisions. Like, that was so money. That's what makes Stafford one of the greats. But Carolina's defense made that too easy. Like, soft zone, allowing a lot of those easy intermediate completions over the middle, which had been the only successful part of the passing attack all game, which are like the exact sort of completions that Stafford is going to look for. And they get no pressure.
Like, obviously,
Yeah,
their pass rush before is very limited. I'm sending extra guys because that's been when we've been able to actually generate some results to make them uncomfortable. I just thought that was really bad from their defensive coordinator, Ivero. I thought he should have been more aggressive there, especially when you're the underdog, dude. And it's like, just go out there and put your nuts on the line, take a chance. Don't be like, yeah, we feel good dropping 7 into soft zone and letting Stafford pick us apart over the middle. Like, that's exactly what he wants to do. So of course he deserves a lot of credit for doing it, but it was also kind of like, man, is that easy? You made it that easy on him with your season on the line, Carolina?
Yeah, I kind of agree, but I also just don't really think they had the personnel. I mean, that's been the big.
No, I agree.
This defense obviously hasn't been great all year long. Derek Brown being healthy this year was a huge difference maker for them. Like, they mentioned this on the broadcast a bunch, but they were the worst scoring defense in NFL history last season. And so for them to get to, a respectable level is super impressive. But like, you think about the fact that this team 2 years ago dealt away a guy like Brian Burns, who had 16 and a half sacks. And you just sit here and, yeah, they got a nice return for him. You're like, damn, it'd be really nice to have a guy like that for this playoff team, right? And that is the one.
Find the next guy like that.
Exactly. And that's where the Carolina Panthers are ironically back at. I think they did a lot of great stuff this year. Ike Ekwonu, who gets injured in this game, franchise left tackle. I think you got him. I think you have your quarterback of the future, whether he's going to be, I don't know what kind of dollar value Bryce is going to demand on the open market when he becomes a free agent, but you would expect that he is your guy for the next few years, right? After his rookie contract, beyond. You have your head coach, right? You have the framework, but the Panthers are still a little bit of a ways away to true contention. But I think edge rusher is priority number one and what I'm selling out everything for, man. You got to get that guy because I completely agree, man. I think that was the difference. What did the Rams do when the Panthers had the ball on their final possessions?
Yeah,
they got pressure home. They ate him alive, and he had no time to throw. So, they went 4 and out. That's 100%. How you win games.
Stafford, comfortable, cool, calm, collected. Fourth quarter, he was 12 of 15 for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns. So down the stretch in that clutch moment, he did exactly what was necessary to get them out of this game alive, which became the objective at the end of this one. It wasn't, let's have a convincing win. Let's cover the spread. Let's feel great about this performance. It was like, let's survive and advance and live to see another day. And I commend them for that. But as a Rams Super Bowl picker, as somebody who has viewed them as the best team in football for more than half the season, they have to be much better than this. The secondary has to be able to cover better. Stafford has to be more consistent. I'd also like to see them able to find more success running the ball so they can get to the play action game more and fewer straight dropbacks and maybe go to the 13 personnel earlier in games related with that. They went to that more in the early fourth quarter, but I think there was a lot on Stafford as a pure drop back passer today. And I understand he's probably going to win MVP, but I feel like the superpower of this offense is their balance. It is their versatility. It is what they can do with the power game as much as anything. I don't really just want player.
I think Puka's the best player in this offense.
Well, that's for sure. But I'm saying, it's the totality of everything they have.
No, it definitely is. But it's like, damn, you know what I mean? I don't know. I even think that's kind of like counterintuitive. It's like, how are we going to give MVP to a guy who isn't even the best player on his own offense? And I'm not saying I think Matt Stafford's a top, 6 guy in football, but a quarterback. But, I think Puka's a top, 4 guy at his position.
I think Puka's been the best guy at his position this year. Even though he had the drop, I thought he was just outstanding today.
Dude, he started this
the versatility, man.
I think, no, they didn't count the 6 pass, but Stafford started this game 5 of 59 with a TD.
Yeah, the first drive was mostly Puka. And then the second drive was Puka making a ridiculous play after the catch on a screen. And the first touchdown, he lined up in the backfield and got open going up the seam. And he took 3 handoffs on end arounds in this game. And he's blocking as he always does. I just don't think there's anybody who is doing more excellent things when you look at the receivers. And so you combine that with the fact that
he does everything out there and he's got the best production. Like I thought JSN should have been offensive player of the year just because of his like production share within his offense, how much he
would be
carried
my
them.
pick.
But if you just ask me who do I think is better, like who would I want to start my offense with as wide receiver 1, I would take Puka.
You would take him over,
even been more productive.
You would take him over anybody else in the league?
Yeah, Genesis has that title for years for me, and I've been like, it's going to take a lot to dethrone him.
That's wild. I would take Genesis.
I just think Puka is exceptional, man. And the contested catching stuff with him while being the best after the catch guy in football this year. And I know he had the drop today, but he has like super glue, massive hands, and he's physical as hell, and he's got great feel. I would say that Jettis is still probably the better pure receiver. He's definitely the better route runner, obviously, and his ball skills are every bit as great as Puka's. But Puka's ability to impose himself physically in multiple ways, I would give him the slight edge. I think that Jettis' production this year obviously sells him way short because of how terrible his quarterback play was. But as amazing as Jettis is, I don't know that he's had a better all-around receiving season in his career than Puka just did right now when you think about the total value that he's adding to an offense. So knucklehead for sure, not a role model. Unfortunately, didn't do Aiden Ross's iconic Jewish dance after either of his first 2 touchdowns today, but Puka is a fucking baller, dude. And I think he's the guy you give the most props to for the Rams today. But even he had one mistake. You can look at them and say, all right, they still put up 34 today. They're the most stacked offense in the NFL, but I do think they have to be better all around. And I really think the defense has got to prove something right now. This is a defense that has been letting up points, and the pass rush had dominant moments. Poona Ford had a crazy bull rush. Fisk had a great bull rush. Verse, Young, like there's so much pass rushing talent here, but I would have liked to see a more complete performance even out of them. So I'm not worried about the Rams. I'm still going to hold tight with my pick because I think that they're the most complete, most talented team in football. But everything that possibly could have worried me about the Rams was a problem today, and that's not a great way to get things started. But I do think that all those things are better on average than they look today. So you touched on this a little bit, Logan, but what is next for Carolina? Where are they at as a team? What are the vibes and what are the priorities this offseason and going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I just say edge rusher, maybe interior offensive line. I think they've got quarterback, running back, wide receiver figured out. You've got your head coach. Like, Carolina's got a lot in place. And I think the biggest thing, like I said, is you've got your offensive genius in Canales, and you've got your guy in Bryce Young. And I think they really complement one another. Like I said, I think Bryce obviously has some skill limitations in terms of what you can do in terms of a vertical passing attack, but the guy can operate an offense. He can read a defense. He can move the ball on drives. That's the thing as a quarterback. I'd rather have a guy that can, there's a reason Joe Milton and his 80-yard bombing arm aren't a quarterback in the league. You got to have everything. And so Bryce may not have that kind of rocket arm that you look for in a franchise guy, but I think he's got a lot of other qualities that I may have overlooked and underestimated and underappreciated about him previously. And so, I don't really think one offseason is going to transform Carolina from division winner to real deal contender, but they're really young and they're ahead of schedule. And if you would have told me the Panthers were going to win this season or win the division before the season started, I would have told you to put down the pipe respectfully.
Well, but then what if I added they only had to win 8 games?
I probably would have been like, all right, I can see it.
Yeah. That's fair. That's the NFC South, but that's also the reality in the NFC South going forward. Like, it's a joke of a division. I think Carolina is clearly going to have a chance at it again next year. I think you feel really good about your head coach and the general direction of your offense. You've built a solid offensive line. You've built a good run game. You've found wide receiver talent. Tet is a monster. Your quarterback is improving. You've got a really good play caller who's making the most out of all this stuff. And I think we end up at the same seemingly inevitable conclusion that we had last year. This is how every year has ended with Bryce Young so far. You're like, you got to give him another year as the starter. I'm not ready to make any declarative statements. I still don't think he's a franchise quarterback, but I think with how things are going for you and with how he actually stepped up and performed pretty well today in the biggest game of his career and how he has been able to manage some of these late game situations and your offense was functional, like considering his youth, I don't think this is the time to move on from him, like for multiple reasons. So he's had these moments, these stretches that are just brutal. Obviously, his entire rookie year, pretty much the start to his sophomore year, but then he finished his sophomore year strong, like playing football that was significantly better than what it was early in the year. And the Panthers offense actually looked like very competent, and so did he. And then this year, you look at all the bottom line numbers, and yeah, they're still not going to jump off the page, obviously. I mean, 188 passing yards a game, 6.3 yards per attempt. This is below average starting quarterback production, but he was able to execute in some more of those clutch situations, 6 game-winning drives this year. Everybody loves those stats about how 12 of his 14 career wins have included game-winning drives. Part of that is if the Panthers are going to win, it's going to be close. It's probably going to be from behind, but he has been legitimately good in those situations and completed a higher percentage of his passes. Like, he's not asked to do much for this team, but he is solid. And although there were low lows and there were moments this year where I thought, yeah, man, he's just too physically overwhelmed. Like that Saints game was brutal. The Seahawks game, even a couple weeks ago, was absolutely brutal against a great defense, of course, but 54 passing yards on 24 attempts. Like there are going to be those dips. And then he has this quality where he bounces back and he gives you just enough confidence to say, all right, let's run it back and let's see what we got. And eventually that's going to run out if he doesn't keep improving. But I do think he keeps improving a bit.
He's got an indomitable spirit and unlimited whimsy.
He does. He's got heart and he's got whimsy, and that is something. And I don't think now is the time to shake things up when you feel like you do have a good flow offensively and you're trending up as an organization. I do think the defense needs to get a whole lot better, though. Like I think this offense, even though the production overall this year definitely underwhelming, this was a legit performance in the playoffs. And there's just more in terms of infrastructure that I like there. Defensively, shout out to the corners, dude, because Mike Jackson was great today. He had a really good season. JC Horn, like you feel good about that tandem. The corners actually didn't let up a touchdown today. The touchdowns were all targeting safeties or linebackers. Other than that, though, there's so much that needs to be improved upon dramatically here. You really need to build up that defensive line around Derek Brown. And they just desperately need a pass rusher like we've been getting at. Dead last in pressure rate again this year. That's not tenable if you want to be a serious defense. They can definitely upgrade significantly at linebacker. I think their linebacking core is pretty bad. And honestly, I would make a change at defensive coordinator. They haven't had good personnel, but the last 2 years before this, they were like historically awful defensively. This year, they were still a very bad defense overall. I just don't see what Evero has done to keep his job here. And I did feel like there was some costly defensive play calling down the stretch of this game. I would probably just take a swing at this point and say, okay, can we be better than the 25th best defense in football when over the totality of these last 3 years, we've been the worst defense in football overall? That's a move that I would be willing to make too. So we'll see what the future holds for Carolina, but this is obviously a successful season for them too. There were a lot of underwhelming moments and kind of like somebody's got to make it out of the NFC South, but they were the ones to do it. They put up a hell of a fight. I don't know that we could say that the Bucs or the Falcons would have put up a fight like this, although the Falcons did, of course, also beat the Rams a couple weeks ago in a very weird football game. But overall, really crazy, fun football today, Logan. Better than I expected, because I didn't think that Rams-Panthers was going to be really that good at all, and it was great. And even though I said this in our preview as I picked the Packers to win by a touchdown, I did at least say, you're right, Logan. This probably is going to come down to something fucking crazy at the end that I'm underestimating. And of course, that is what happened. And when that happens, it goes the Bears' way. But even that one, I wasn't expecting a historic comeback. That's for sure. So really awesome start to the playoffs. We will be back tomorrow night. But before we leave you guys tonight, we got to get to these super chats. Colby, thank you for your generous donation to the NerdSesh Foundation. Love your guys' videos. Keep up the great work. 2 great games to start the postseason, and I can't wait to see more. Same here. Cannot wait.
Thank you, Colby. Congratulations on that touchdown today, man.
Yeah, Colby Parker, that's very close to the great Colby Parkinson, who made a hell of a play today. By the way, all those Rams pass catchers, bro, like Colby Parkinson also just snagged a screen earlier in the
Oh,
game.
the
And
one-handed,
Puka
yeah.
snagged a screen. Yeah, like these dudes just make plays. And also related with that, I was like, Stafford, the accuracy just all day wasn't really there. Wasn't really there. And again, that is a criticism you can have of him this season overall. Amadou says, would it be a mistake to move off of LaFleur? Yes.
Yeah, man. That guy's getting 30 M's a year from somebody.
LaFleur is great.
He's one of the best coaches in the league, man.
I don't know where you could put this game on him, because I do think there have been a couple times historically where it's like the passing attack is working early in games and then they get up big and maybe they get a little bit tight and go away from it. That's not what happened at all in this game. They never ran the ball well. And so they had to lean on the passing game, and they went down with the passing game in the second half. Like, I don't think you can say, oh, they should have run the ball more when they didn't have success running the football all day. Ultimately, the Bears out adjusted them for sure. Like, Dennis Allen just cooked, but also, as we've said several times, if not for a couple of really rough breaks, drops, maybe a missed pass interference call, in my opinion, it was 2 missed kicks, you're not looking at the Packers offense or execution and saying, oh, that was the problem, because they would have put up 30 plus points and won this football game. I think LaFleur is overall a really good schemer, and I think the Packers are really well coached overall. We'll see if they can keep Halfley, but if they do, I think they're in great position to have a better season next year, because I don't think they will get hit with the season from hell back to back. Packers fans love to commiserate and say, oh my God, we're so cursed. We lost 4 NFC title games with Aaron Rodgers and all this stuff. And it's like, look, you guys are also always good. So things in the big picture do go in the favor of the Packers this year. Not so much, but the Micah trade is just a game changer for them. Jordan Love being as good as he is, having a career season. There is a lot big picture that I think is going to go much better for them going forward. Moist Jalapeno, thank you for your very generous donation. Y'all are the best. Thank you for helping me during third shift. I'm a Titans fan, unfortunately, so pray for our new coach. Shout out to playoff football. We got spoiled. We did get spoiled, and I will pray for you as a Titans fan, because you need it.
Yeah, shout
You
out
every last
you,
bit of it.
Moist Jalapeno. I don't know. I'm optimistic about the Titans, man. I kind of look at it the way I
You
looked
got
at
Cam.
the Bears job last year when they got Ben Johnson. Mike McDaniel, go get him. Go get him. Really, I think that's the big thing with the Titans head coaching job, is what direction you want to take. Are you going to go with the offensively slanted head coach or the defensively slanted guy? I think it's more important to find your offensive guy. So Kingsbury, Kubiak, Mike McDaniel, I'm blowing their lines up.
I do think the Titans are a year further away than the Bears were, though, because the Bears had already started the rebuild. They had started the rebuild in the trenches. They just needed to complete it with the interior offensive line, but they already had their tackle tandem. They'd already started to find the skill position guys with Rome and DJ. They just needed to add a couple more with Loveland and Burden. Like, in a lot of ways, I think that Bears team, even last year, was closer and just better than the Titans this year, who I thought were an absolutely atrocious and talentless football team. But I do like Cam Ward, and it's a huge deal if you bring in the right guy. We've seen how much that can change this year in so many different circumstances. Ben Johnson, the great Liam Cohen. So we will root for you guys to find some more success in the future, Mr. Jalapeno. Cheese and Bear Pod, it's Chicago. It kind of makes me want to do it show tune style.
Bear down.
Da Bears. Da Bears. What a win for Da Bears, dude. I literally tweeted out at halftime. I said, I'm sorry, Bears fans. It's nothing personal. You're just not ready this year. I quote tweeted the fact that I said,
the tweet, bro.
Yeah. And I thought about the fact that the Bears have had all their comeback magic. I considered it. And then I thought, no, they're dead in the water. Green Bay's just way better. And that's why, Logan, I'm a common fool and a schmuck. All the same, if you guys are sitting here listening to us talk football, you're schmucks just like us, and we hope that you join us for a dinner for schmucks of sorts, a podcast for schmucks tomorrow, because we're going to be back Sunday night. Will my heart be broken by the Buffalo Bills tomorrow morning? Only one way to find out. I can't wait. I'm nervous, more nervous than I should be for a sporting event that I have zero influence on the outcome of, but that's life, Logan. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun. We got a great slate of games tomorrow Tomorrow, there's some real humdingers. Today, I was not expecting to be this great. Tomorrow, I am expecting big things. So can't wait for that and hope that you guys do join us. Any final words from you, Logan, before we wrap this thing up?
Bear down.
Follow us. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. You got the orange on there. That's kind of classic Bears. You could spin it that way. I know it's not, but if you want to,
let's pretend it's
the
a
Bears
Peanut
fans,
Tillman jersey. Yeah.
Let's pretend it's a Peanut Tillman jersey. I love that, dude. Let's pretend it's a Wilbur Marshall jersey. Let's pretend it's Steve Mongo McMichael jersey. Shout out to the fellas. Let's pretend it's a Mike Ditka
I got my
jersey.
Bobby Douglas jersey on, bro.
Oh, that would be tough as hell. The Caleb Haney would go hard.
Hell,
the Rex Grossman would go hard. Why wouldn't the Rex Grossman go hard?
Yeah, man, I got the Jim Miller jersey on right now.
Oh, damn, that's a great shout. You got the Vince Evans on. You think about getting the Vince Evans on?
That would be
all right.
tough.
Next episode, Logan's gonna be wearing a Vince Evans with no drawers, Vince style. If you guys want more of our content, you know where to find us. All of our full episodes are on YouTube if you want to watch live or after the fact. You can also listen across all audio platforms, of course. And you also will see all of our video essay content on our YouTube channel when we do some more film breakdown kind of stuff, mostly on the NBA. You can also find all of our trivia content on our social media, TikTok and Instagram at NerdSesh, Twitter at nerd_sesh. Also there, we have graphics from the show, clips from the show, and all of that good stuff. And if you want to be part of our community over on Discord, you can join that. That is linked at the link tree that is across our social media bios. So with that, as always, appreciate you guys, Logan. I can't wait to see you about 22 hours from now. And I've been Carson Breber.
I have been Logan Camden.
And this was NerdSesh.